Part 1. A Quiet Morning in Amsterdam. Sophia had come to Amsterdam for a 3-month internship. She had flown in from London and was still tired from the early flight. The air was cool and smelled of tulips. On the first day, she moved into a shared house by the canal. The landlady, a kind, elderly woman named Helen, showed her the room. The room was small but bright and cozy. Sophia opened the window and smiled at the sound of bicycles. Life in this city was calmer than she had imagined. She took out a notebook and began writing about her first day. First day in Amsterdam. Everything feels different. After a short rest, she decided to go out for groceries. The corner shop was full of local cheeses and fresh bread. The shopkeeper smiled and asked, "First time here?" Sophia replied, "Yes, and everything is so lovely." She got a hot tea and sat by the canal. Boats passed by slowly. She felt like she had come to the right place. Part 2. Starting work. The next day, Sophia rode to the office on a bike Helen had lent her. Her workplace was a small architecture firm near Vondel Park. Her co-workers were from various countries: Spain, Italy, the Netherlands, and Denmark. The project manager, a man named Martin, smiled and said, "Welcome to the team." During the morning, Sophia got familiar with the office environment. She loved designing and restoring old buildings. In the afternoon, everyone went to a local cafe for lunch. They sat on the terrace, and the sunlight was gentle. One of her co-workers, Clara from Madrid, quickly connected with her. Clara said, "Amsterdam is a calm and creative city. You'll adapt fast." Sophia nodded and said, "I already feel good about this place." After lunch, they returned and began working on a renovation project. Sophia shared ideas about using natural light, which caught attention. Martin said, "I like it. Your idea is simple and practical." She felt accomplished for her first day. That night, she wrote in her journal, "Working with creative people is a joy." Everything was going well. Part 3. Exploring neighborhoods. Over the weekend, Sophia decided to explore different neighborhoods of the city. She left the house early and cycled toward Jordan. The narrow streets, art galleries, and small cafes attracted her. In one gallery, she spoke with a Dutch painter. He said, "My paintings are mostly about the feeling of life in Amsterdam." Sophia said, "I can see that feeling in the colors." Then she went to the local market and bought some cheese and fruit. In the afternoon, she visited the Rijksmuseum and saw Rembrandt's work. The paintings took her breath away. She stood for a long time in front of the night watch. When she came out, it had started to drizzle. She kept walking in the rain, wet but happy. To her, even the rain felt like part of the city's soul. On the way back, she stopped by an old bookstore. She bought a book about the history of Dutch architecture. That night, she sat at home with tea and her new book. She thought to herself, "This city is perfect for reflection." Part 4. A New Friendship. In the second week, Sophia grew closer to Clara. They had lunch together every day and talked about their lives. Clara said she was tired of Madrid's chaos and found more peace here. Sophia said it was the first time she felt at home in Europe. One evening, Clara invited her to a small jazz concert at a cafe. The atmosphere was cozy, candles lit, and live music playing. Sophia said, "I feel like I'm in a movie." Clara laughed and said, "Life here is a movie." After the concert, they walked by the canal and talked about the future. Clara said she wanted to stay in Amsterdam. Sophia said she might return after graduation for work. That night, a soft rain began, and they shared one umbrella. Their conversation was real and warm. It felt like sisterhood was growing between them, Sophia thought. Some people feel like old friends right away. She fell asleep smiling that night. Simple days, but deeply meaningful. Part 5. Workdays and Quiet Nights. In the third week, the renovation project moved into the design phase. Sophia was in charge of drawing natural light plans. Martin praised her ideas and gave her more trust. Days were full of meetings and sketches, but her evenings still belonged to her. She often biked to the river, sometimes she just sat, watching the city lights and breathing. Sometimes she wrote in her journal or sketched. One night, Helen invited her to dinner. They had traditional Dutch soup and talked about their travels. Helen said, "You remind me of my younger self when I used to travel." Sophia said, "I hope to be like you one day." After dinner, she felt for the first time that this house was truly home. A home away from home. She found peace, not through big events, but through small moments. She thought, feeling good doesn't always come with noise. And she ended the night with a smile. Part 6. The First Mistake. In the fourth week, Sophia made a mistake in a design map. One of the measurements was wrong and caused a delay. Martin was disappointed but calmly said, "Mistakes are part of learning." Sophia felt bad and blamed herself. That night she wrote in her journal, "Today was a disaster." But Clara told her, "We all mess up. What matters is learning from it." The next day, Sophia carefully corrected the plan. She even came up with a better solution. Martin smiled and said, "Well done. That's a pro move." Sophia learned that mistakes weren't the end of the world. They were doors to growth. On the way home, a cold wind blew, but her heart felt warm. She felt stronger. This time she wrote, "Yesterday's mess, today's lesson." The city kept moving and she was growing with it. She smiled in silence. Part 7. An Unforgettable Weekend. At the end of the first month, Clara suggested a weekend trip to the small city of Haarlem. It was just a 15-minute train ride away. On Saturday morning, they set out with backpacks and a camera. The weather was sunny, and the streets were calm and colorful. In the main square, a street musician played an old tune. Sophia said, "It feels like time has slowed down." They visited the city's big church and climbed the tower. The view of the small town and narrow canals was breathtaking. At noon, they had lunch in a traditional cafe and talked about family. Clara said her father had been an architect, which inspired her. Sophia said her grandmother loved to travel and always encouraged her. In the afternoon, they walked through the local market and bought small things. Sophia bought a sketchbook, and Clara bought a handmade necklace. On the train back, they were both quiet but smiling. The trip was short, but full of life. Sophia thought, sometimes happiness is in the little things. And she slept peacefully that night. Part 8. The End of a Beginning. The second month passed quickly, and Sophia became more familiar with projects and daily life. Helen had become like a grandmother, and Clara, her best friend. One morning, an email arrived from her university in London, an offer for a summer research project. She had to decide, stay or return. That night, she sat by the canal and thought. She remembered the walks, the laughter, the mistakes, and the calm. She realized that wherever there's growth, that's home. The next day, she made her choice. She would return to London, stronger, wiser, and with a full heart. She said goodbye to Helen and promised to come back. She hugged Clara and said, "We'll see each other soon." At the airport, she opened her notebook and wrote, "Spring in Amsterdam was the beginning of a girl who found herself." The plane took off, and the city grew small through the window, but Amsterdam stayed in her heart forever.